The exile Bizions, the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, floated in the cold void like a city-sized jewel, its crystalline walls catching light from 3 nearby stars. Inside, the air thrummed with the ambient hum of translation matrices, converting thousands of languages into unified understanding. 47 species had gathered today, representatives from the oldest civilizations in the known galaxy. Their decision would shape the future of a young species on a blue world called Earth. Commander James Reeves stood at the center of the amphitheater, the only human present among beings whose evolution spanned millions of years. His uniform was simple navy blue with silver insignia, and his posture was rigid with practiced calm. Above his head, holographic displays showed Earth in all its complexity: towering cities, flowing oceans, networks of light-tracing continents during night cycles. But the chosen images told a darker story. Wars raged on screens to his left. Factories belched smoke. Protests filled streets. Nuclear weapons pointed skyward from multiple nations. The Council had compiled humanity's worst moments into a devastating portfolio of violence and chaos. High, Arbiter Vex rose from her elevated seat. She was a being of crystallized consciousness, her form a shifting lattice of light contained within a geometric prison of force. Her voice, when she spoke, carried the weight of millennia. Commander Reeves, the Council has completed its evaluation of your species. We have observed humanity for the past 50 years of your time. We have watched your wars, your political conflicts, your environmental destruction. We have compiled data on your weapons development, your resource consumption, your social collapse in vulnerable regions. Reeves remained perfectly still. He had prepared for this moment his entire life, knowing it would come eventually. The Council always investigated young species as they reached certain technological thresholds. A reptilian delegate with scales of deep purple stood next. His name was rendered by the translators as Speaker Korav. Your kind achieves in centuries what civilized species require millions of years to accomplish. You develop weapons that threaten planetary systems. You show signs of tribal violence, even as you possess global communication. By every measure, you are unstable, dangerous. The Quilix representative, a small furry being no larger than a house cat, spoke more gently. We do not discount your potential, but potential without wisdom is catastrophic. You lack the evolutionary patience of older species. You lack the cultural frameworks that prevent self-destruction. Reeves had studied these council members for years. He knew their fears, their prejudices, their reasoning. But he had hoped somehow that humanity might be different, that they might see past the current chaos to the potential beneath it. What does the council propose? He asked, his voice steady. Vex gestured, and a new holographic display materialized. It showed the Earth's solar system, the sun at its heart, the 8 planets in their orbital paths, the asteroid belt, the distant reaches where comets drifted in the outer darkness. A sphere of luminescent energy began to form around the entire system, growing until it encased everything within the sun's gravitational influence. Containment, Vex announced. Your solar system will be sealed with a barrier no ship can penetrate, no signal can escape. You will have the entire system to develop in peace. Mars can be terraformed. The moon can be mined. The asteroid belt can be harvested. All of this is yours. But you will not leave. You will not communicate with the galactic community. Your species will remain isolated until you demonstrate the stability and wisdom necessary to join civilized society. The chamber erupted in noise. Some delegates applauded. Others protested. Through it all, Reeves stood silent, his mind racing. This is not a punishment, Vex continued, raising her hand for silence. We do not execute promising species. We contain them. We give them space to develop without threatening others. Perhaps in 1,000 years, humanity will be ready, Perhaps in 10,000. Time is something we have in abundance. Reeves nodded slowly. And if we refuse? You cannot refuse, Speaker Korath said flatly. The barrier will activate in 72 hours. You may use this time to inform your governments, to prepare your people. All human vessels currently in space will be gathered and returned to Earth. Your chance to prepare is a mercy we extend. Use it wisely. The council session ended moments later. Reeves walked through the crystalline corridors of the council station in a daze, his mind processing the enormity of what awaited: isolation, containment, the entire human race locked behind a barrier that could not be breached. It was exile in the truest sense, not banishment to another world, but imprisonment within their own. Back on Earth, the announcement sent shockwaves through global governments and media. Protests erupted in capitals worldwide. Military forces mobilized as if they could somehow fight against an interdimensional barrier. Scientists demanded access to space stations, hoping to find some way around the containment. Religious leaders proclaimed divine punishment or divine protection, depending on their theology. But something unexpected happened in those first 72 hours. As humanity faced an external threat, something fundamental shifted. The squabbles that had defined international relations suddenly seemed trivial. Old enemies found themselves discussing cooperation rather than conflict. Military budgets were questioned. Resources that had been hoarded by individual nations were suddenly viewed as common assets. Dr. Amara Okonkwo sat in her research facility in Lagos, Nigeria, watching the news feeds scroll past. She was a theoretical physicist who had spent her career studying advanced propulsion systems and energy generation. Her work had been largely academic, interesting to other scientists, but impractical for current technology. As she listened to the council's pronouncement, her mind began working through equations and possibilities that had previously seemed impossible. She opened a secure communication channel and began sending messages to colleagues around the world. Within hours, a network of the planet's finest minds was forming: physicists, engineers, biologists, architects, programmers. They began sharing ideas, breaking through the national security protocols that had previously kept their research compartmentalized. Humanity's greatest minds started planning not for escape, but for transformation. When the barrier activated, the effect was spectacular and terrible. A sphere of pure energy blazed into existence, surrounding the entire solar system in a corona of light that could be seen from Earth's surface in daylight. For several minutes, the sun seemed to dim as the barrier adjusted to its new role. Satellites in orbit went dark as their signals could no longer escape the containment field. Stock markets crashed as financial systems that depended on global communication collapsed. But in laboratories, universities, and government facilities, a different kind of activity was beginning. Reeves convened a meeting of world leaders, and for the first time in human history, there were no disputes about representation or power. Every nation sent their best scientists, their most innovative thinkers. Reeves looked at the assembled faces and saw something he had rarely seen in his lifetime: genuine unity. "We have a choice," Reeves said, his voice carrying through the chamber. "We can despair. We can fight against the inevitable. Or we can treat this isolation as an opportunity." The council feared us because of our adaptability, our speed, our ability to innovate. They sealed us away because they thought we were dangerous. The question is, should we prove them wrong or prove them right? Dr. Okonkwo stood. The council made a mistake in their analysis. They viewed our rapid development as threatening, but they didn't understand that we develop quickly because we innovate as a species to survive. When we're unified, when we work together toward a common goal, there's nothing we cannot achieve. "What are you proposing?" asked Minister Li Chun from China. "I'm proposing we use the next decades to build something remarkable," Okonkwo said. We have access to every asteroid, every moon, every planetary system. We have the combined knowledge of Earth's entire scientific community. We're isolated, yes, but we're not imprisoned. This barrier contains us and protects us. It gives us space to become something greater than we ever could have become as a fragmented world. The idea spread like wildfire through humanity's networks. Within days, every nation had committed resources to a unified project, the transformation of the solar system into a thriving, multi-planetary civilization. Mars would be terraformed. The moon would be converted into a massive habitat. Orbital stations would be constructed. Advanced energy systems would be developed. In 50 years, humanity would demonstrate not just technological prowess, but cultural evolution. Unknown to anyone at the time, a discovery was being made that would change everything. Deep in an asteroid in the outer solar system, a mining team broke through to a hollow chamber. Inside, they found structures that were clearly artificial, but utterly ancient. The architecture defied analysis. The materials seemed to exist partially outside normal space. And in the center of the chamber sat a data storage device that, when activated, projected a message in thousands of ancient languages, including a form of Proto-English that the computers could translate. Asterisk. "This is Archive 7, the message began. "We are the architects. We built the universe's first barrier 10 million years ago to protect a young species from extinction. If you are hearing this message, your civilization has reached the point where you too have been contained. Congratulations, you have passed the first test. Now we teach you what they could not. The barrier is not a prison. It is a chrysalis." Dr. Okonkwo stood in the chamber, reading the translated message, tears streaming down her face. She looked at her team. "Contact Reeves. Tell him we're not trapped. We're being given a chance to evolve. And I think someone has been waiting for us to figure that out." As the first human ships began their journeys across the sealed solar system to begin the Great Construction, no one noticed the network of ancient satellites activating deep in the outer reaches of the solar system. Satellites that had been dormant for millennia. Satellites that would soon begin broadcasting signals out into the sealed solar system, but outward, through dimensions the barrier could not block. Signals that would reach a network of hidden observers throughout the galaxy, observers who had been watching, waiting and hoping that humanity would find the ancient archive. The exile, it seemed, had always been part of a much larger plan. Asterisk, the silent arrival in 40 years of isolation had transformed Earth's solar system into something that no one outside could have imagined. The barrier that had been meant to contain humanity had instead become the cradle of their evolution. Mars bloomed with green forests and blue oceans where once only red dust had blown. The moon had been hollowed out systematically, its interior transformed into a massive city of interconnected habitats that housed 3 billion people. The asteroid belt had become a network of artificial habitats and manufacturing centers. And floating in the darkness beyond, invisible to any external sensors, humanity had built something that would have terrified the Galactic Council had they known about it. A fleet of advanced ships, constructed using technology that should have been impossible to develop. Captain Alana Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the flagship Prometheus, looking out at her world. She was tall, with the bearing of someone born into leadership, but not corrupted by it. At 39 years old, she was the youngest commander in the unified fleet, but she had earned her position through brilliance and an almost supernatural ability to solve impossible problems. Her father, James Reeves, had led humanity through the first years of exile. He had passed leadership to Elena a decade ago, stepping back to serve as an advisor while she charted a new course for their species. "The scout reports are in," said Marcus Chun, Elena's chief engineer and closest advisor. He was a massive man with thick hands and a mind that seemed to work in 4 dimensions simultaneously. His designs had literally reshaped planets. All 3-dimensional gates are operational. The archive's technology interface is fully compatible with our systems. We're ready whenever you give the order. Elena nodded slowly. What about the defector? Keeper Thess is in the meditation chamber, as requested, replied a third voice. Thess themselves emerged from the shadows, a being that could not be easily described in conventional terms. They had joined humanity's ranks 12 years ago, one of the few members of the Keepers, an ancient order dedicated to preserving the work of the architects. Thess had the appearance of a humanoid figure wrapped in shifting shadows, with eyes that seemed to contain entire galaxies. They had been instrumental in helping humanity understand the true nature of the archive and the ancient project that had guided their species toward this moment. The galaxy is not ready for this, Elena said quietly. And frankly, neither were we. But the archive's timeline suggests that if we don't act now, the Galactic Council's stagnation will spread like a disease through every species they touch. The architects didn't seal us away to punish us. They sealed us away to save us and prepare us for this. The voyage to the hidden dimensional gates had taken 2 years of preparation. The ancient archive had revealed that the barrier containing humanity was not a solid wall, but a gateway to something far more significant. A network of sealed passages that allowed travel through spaces the conventional dimensional scanning equipment of the galaxy could not detect. Humanity had learned to navigate these passages, building ships that could phase partially into neighboring dimensions to achieve speeds far beyond what any conventional engine could produce, what nobody outside the sealed solar system knew was that for the past 30 years, carefully masked probe ships had been slipping through these passages, moving invisibly through the galaxy. They had observed the Galactic Council, watched how species interacted, and most importantly, they had been helping in secret. When a colony faced starvation, human technology found its way to them through seemingly natural channels. When a plague threatened extinction, the cure appeared in a supply shipment with no origin marked. When pirates ravaged a trade route, they were mysteriously captured and left bound for authorities with perfect evidence of their crimes. All across the galaxy, humanity had been working silently in the background, using their advanced technology not to dominate but to subtly improve the lives of others. Now, that period of silence was ending. Send the transmission, Elena commanded. The message was simple but profound. It was addressed to every species in the galaxy simultaneously, breaking through every encryption, every firewall, every security protocol. The message contained data pure, undeniable proof of the archive, proof of the ancient architects, and proof that the Galactic Council had been built upon false understanding of reality itself. The message also contained something else, an open invitation. Any species that wanted access to human technology, human knowledge, human partnership was welcome. No questions asked, no conditions imposed. The message also included something that made the Council's collective blood run cold. Visual proof of Earth's accomplishments. Terraformed Mars, the Moon City, the asteroid belt stations, the fleet hidden in dimensional space. All of it displayed in perfect clarity. The isolation that the Council had imposed on humanity had resulted not in stagnation, but in advancement that should have been impossible. The Galactic Council convened in emergency session. For the first time in millions of years, there was genuine fear in their chambers. General Vex, the same High Arbiter who had voted for humanity's containment, stood before the assembled delegates, her crystalline form flickering with agitation. They have violated the containment, Speaker Korath declared, his scales shifting through colors that indicated fury. They have interfered with other species. They have developed prohibited technology. This is an act of war, but not everyone saw it that way. Keeper Thess, speaking through a communication device in the council chamber, challenged the narrative. Humanity has violated nothing. They have remained within their solar system. They have used pathways created by the architect's pathways that existed long before the council was formed. Your containment barrier was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to be a chrysalis, a place where a young species could develop into something greater. The words shattered the council's unity. Representatives began shouting, arguing, demanding action. Some called for military intervention. Others demanded negotiation. And still others, the younger delegates from species that had joined the council in more recent centuries, began asking themselves why they should remain loyal to an order that had been built on suppression rather than growth. Asterisk. Elena Rodriguez did not command the Prometheus to leave its hiding place in dimensional space. Instead, she initiated the next phase of her plan. Human ships, one by one, began arriving at key locations throughout the galaxy. At the trade hub of Zethros, they docked peacefully and offered advanced medical technology to the inhabitants. At the research station of Krell Prime, they shared the mathematical frameworks that had enabled their rapid advancement. On dozens of colony worlds, human scientists appeared alongside the technological gifts, ready to teach and learn. They did not conquer. They did not demand tribute. They simply offered partnership. Within weeks, 5 smaller species officially broke away from the Galactic Council and allied with humanity. Within months, that number had grown to 12. Within a year, the Council's authority had fragmented into something unrecognizable. Some species remained loyal to the old order. Others joined humanity's new collective. Many simply declared independence and began working directly with whichever organization benefited them most. General Vex found herself in an impossible position. She had spent her entire existence maintaining order through control and intimidation. Now she faced an opponent that defeated her through generosity and innovation. She called for Elena Rodriguez to meet with her in neutral space. When the two leaders finally stood face to face, Elena, in her simple human uniform, and Keeper, Thess at her side, and Vex, in all her ancient authority, something remarkable happened. Elena smiled. Asterisk. You thought we would emerge from containment as conquerors, Elena said. You feared our ambition. But the architects understood something you did not. Sometimes the greatest strength is not in taking what others have. It is in building something new and offering it freely. We do not want your empire, Arbiter Vex. We want to create something better. Vex's crystalline form dimmed slightly, a sign of profound emotional processing. You will destabilize everything. The galaxy has functioned under council authority for millions of years. The galaxy has stagnated under council authority for millions of years, Elena corrected gently. And look at what your stagnation created: a species like humanity that, when given pressure and isolation, could evolve faster than you ever thought possible. Imagine what could happen if you stopped trying to control growth and instead started encouraging it. The High Arbiter said nothing for a long moment. Then her crystalline structure began to shift, breaking apart and reforming into new configurations. When she finally spoke, her voice was different. Quieter, more introspective. What do you propose? Partnership, Elena said simply. The Galactic Council can continue to exist for those who value stability, but alongside it, a new alliance for those who want growth. Not enemies, colleagues. 2 different approaches to civilization, giving species choices. Word spread quickly. The division became official. Half of the former council remained in their ancient chambers, watching as the other half pledged themselves to the Terran collective. Throughout the galaxy, species made their own choices. Some stayed loyal to tradition. Others embraced the new paradigm. Humanity, once imprisoned and feared, had become the catalyst that reshaped galactic civilization. Elena stood in the archive chamber on the moon, looking at the message that the architects had left for humanity specifically. It had been hidden until humanity proved worthy of finding it, and now it displayed itself across her vision in pure crystalline clarity. You were contained so you could be free. You were imprisoned so you could learn that true strength is not dominance, but the gift of helping others grow. Welcome to the collective of the free. Your journey is just beginning. Back in her office, Captain Elena Rodriguez opened a secure channel to her father, James Reeves, now elderly but sharp as ever. We did it, Dad. Humanity has taken its place in the galaxy. Not as servants to the old order, but as equals. As partners. James Reeves smiled on the communication screen, tears in his eyes. Your mother always said that adversity reveals character. The Council tried to contain us. Instead, they taught us who we really are. I'm proud of you, Elena. I'm proud of all of us. As the first generation of the Terran Collective prepared their next missions, exploration ships bound for other galaxies, research stations designed to advance understanding of the universe itself, academies to train young minds in both human wisdom and alien knowledge, Elena looked at the stars beyond the barrier. The containment field would soon be dismantled, no longer needed. Humanity would walk freely through the galaxy, carrying with them the lessons learned in their isolation. The exiled species had become the free species. The prisoners had become pioneers. And the galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk.